Hello everyone, welcome to the Zeitz MOCAA online open studio session. The Zeitz MOCAA is the Museum of Contemporary Art in Africa and it's located in Cape Town in South Africa. My name is Liesl Hartman and I work in the Centre for Arts Education at the museum. For those of you that have joined us already, we hope that you enjoyed our first session and that you've put your wonderful drawings of your scratchy cat on a Persian rug inspired by William Kentridge on our Instagram or Facebook page. When the museum was open, we invited guests and children into the museum to do a practical activity with us, inspired by exhibitions and some of our artists that are on display. Today we will do another activity inspired by the artist Abdoulaye Konaté. Abdoulaye Konaté is an artist from Mali in West Africa, and he works in Bamako, which is the capital city of that country. Abdoulaye Konaté works mainly in fabric, and the artwork that he has hanging up at the museum at the moment is a large wall hanging. It's 11 meters wide by 12 meters high, so it's very, very big, and it's made up of strips of woven and dyed cloth. Mali is very famous for its tradition of weaving cotton and then dyeing it. Right guys, now we're getting to the fun part of the session today, which is really all about the making, and I want to explain the materials that you're going to need for this session. So in front of me I have 3 pieces of paper here. They're just A4 pieces of paper, as you can see. You're going to need a couple of kokies perhaps, or even crayons if you have them. You're going to need a pair of scissors because we're going to do some cutting, a glue stick for sticking, and I'm also going to use a little bit of my paint. But before we start, let me show you some of the examples that I've made where I've looked at Abdoulaye Konaté's work and I've been inspired by what I've seen. So first of all, I made this example where I just used oil pastels and I was inspired by the strips of cloth, and I just drew strips of cloth like this, and I created some symbols down the middle, and some of those symbols I just made up myself. Another example, which I wanted to be more 3-dimensional because I wanted it to remind us of the fringes of cloth that he layers one on top of the other. I've just used pieces of paper and paint to create those. I've added a word in that was important to me during this time, and some important symbols. Those symbols actually mean the future or tomorrow. So for me, that message is about hope for the future, which I quite liked. Another example that I want to show you is one made out of newspaper. So you don't really need new paper to work on. You can use what's in the house. You can use old magazines. And this piece, I've just created the fringes out of cut up pieces of newspaper that I've layered one on top of the other. And I've just used one color and a little bit of paint just to unify it and bind it all together. And my little symbols I've just included on top of the fringes. And then lastly, I've made an example purely out of magazine paper. I've looked for the pieces of paper that were blue and red and green, and I also found some grey paper, and these have been separately stuck down to create these beautiful fringes. If I blow them, you can actually see them lifting, and that was a lovely exercise just in sticking and pasting. I haven't included any symbols here, but the letters of the words on those pages come through onto the bits and pieces and create a very nice composition. So those are my examples. Today we are going to focus on making this example, and here we've used a little bit of paint, we've used some pastels, some koki pens, and we've created beautiful symbols on this piece as well. So guys, with this example that we're going to make, I'm going to show you how to do the cutting of these strips of paper and how we're going to stick them and add them down onto the page. So I'm going to put that aside and we're going to get started. So we need 3 pieces of paper, like I've said, and each piece of paper we're going to fold in a particular way. We're going to take a piece of paper and fold it in half lengthwise, like that, pressing it down on the one side to get a nice little tight fold, and then we're going to fold it again, so that if we unfold it we can see that we have 4 long strips, and we want to fold it one more time. We're going to hold it in front of us just to keep it nice and secure, and that gives us a narrow long strip of paper. But when we open it up, we can see that our piece of paper has been divided into 8 different stripes going down from top to bottom, and we're going to do the same thing with our other 2 pieces of paper. So let me put that aside And you can try this together with me, folding the paper in half lengthwise, again into quarters or four, and then in front of you to make a nice narrow strip. And then let's open it out again so that we have a piece of paper with 8 stripes from top to bottom. And the last piece we are folding over, again into quarters, keeping it lengthwise, and to make 8s, and unfolding it. And so we have our 3 pieces of paper. We're now going to start cutting to create some of those beautiful fringes. We're going to put 2 of them aside. We're going to take the one, right, the open side to our left and the folded closed side to our right. We're going to take our pair of scissors and we're going to cut along that first fold on our right hand side of our page. We're going to cut all the way up until we've cut that end piece right off. You may be a little bit skew there like I am. I'm just cutting that top bit off, and we've got an extra piece of paper here and we're going to put it aside because we're actually going to use that piece again. Right, so we've got 2 separate pieces there. We're going to do the same with our second sheet. We're going to fold it in half again, the open side to our left, the closed side to our right. We're going to cut along that first fold on our right hand side carefully from the bottom to the top. Hold your page nice and firmly and cut as straight as you can. Doesn't matter if you go a little bit off the line. We're going to put that piece of paper aside again, and I have another 2, so I've got 4 pieces of paper altogether. Now those pieces we're going to take, lay them all together, and again using a folding technique just to fold them in half like that. And if you can cut through all 4, you can do that like I'm doing, or if your scissors are not strong enough, you can take 1 sheet at a time, and we are going to cut through that center fold. And so we've had 4 pieces cut into 2, which gives us now 8 pieces of paper altogether. So it's the 2 times table, guys. 2 times 4 gives us 8. Right. Now we're going to cut those pieces again. We're going to take each of them. If you want to take 2 at a time, it works quite well with 2. If you need to do it 1 at a time, take it slow and do it 1 at a time. And now we're going to cut to make those beautiful fringes for our artworks that look like those lovely pieces of fringed cloth of the artist Abdoulaye Konaté. We don't cut all the way through. We want to keep our pieces attached, but that gives us 2 lovely pieces with the fringes that are separate at the bottom. And we're going to do that with all of our pieces. You can do them with me if you like. And we're cutting again. We don't cut all the way through. We stop just about a centimeter from the top. That gives us another 2. One more time. And the last 2. Right, and at the end of this activity you have your 1 folded sheet of paper and the other 2 sheets that you've cut up to make 8 different fringes. Right guys, so you've done a wonderful job cutting and preparing your pieces of paper and your fringes for your artwork, and now I want to show you how to add some color to it. Okay, Abdoulaye Konaté used wonderful colors in his wall hangings that were rich and bright and really beautiful. In the piece that I've created, I've used paint, but if you don't have paint, you can also color your fringes using your crayons or your pastels if you'd like. Okay, so I'll show you one where I've done one in pastel, or where I make one in pastel, where we just take our pastel, and you can do this using just 1 solid color if you like. You can use any colors that you want to for your beautiful artwork, guys. Any color that is meaningful for you. Is that your favorite color? The idea is to just enjoy putting the color down onto the surface. Now what I've done with my crayon here is, as I'm going from the top down to the bottom, you'll see that I'm not pressing as hard and that my color is becoming lighter and lighter. And that's one of the lovely characteristics of working with crayons and pastels. And if you like, you can take a lighter tone of that. So of course, when you add white to a color, you are creating lighter and lighter tones. I've got my pink pastel here. It's obviously a mixture of red and white. And so I'm blending it into the darker red and taking it right down to the bottom, and I'm not pressing so hard at the bottom again. So your color and the tone of your color changes depending on the pressure that you put on your crayon. And lastly, I'm adding a little bit of a white pastel that's mixing with the pink to make an even lighter tone right down at the bottom. So you can take your fringes and you can certainly color them with pastels. I'm going to show you what to do when you do it with paint. So here I've painted just with my watercolors 2 pieces already, just with 1 layer of paint. And if you want to make that color a little bit more saturated or darker, you can put your brush into another color again. I've mixed the pink here with a red to make a different tone, and you can see that it darkens the tone of your red. And for our artwork or our example, we're using different tones and colors created from a mixture of red paints in different ways. And that's how you can make your fringes darker in tone. So you can see this one that I've painted just with 1 layer is a lighter pinky red, and this one is a darker tone, and then they are layered one on top of the other. So let me show you some of the completed fringes that I've done. Here are some of mine in light pink, darker pink. I've also made a beautiful orange, and then the darkest red as well. Right, so guys, while you are finishing adding color to your beautiful fringes, I'm going to put mine aside, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the signs and symbols that we're going to add to our work later on. As I've shown you before, Abdoulaye Konaté uses signs and symbols in his works, and I'm going to speak to you about the difference between them. So first of all, let's look at an example of a sign. I'm sure you know what this one means. This is a sign telling you that you're not allowed to enter. So a sign is something that is giving you information. Sometimes it is in the form of a picture, and sometimes a sign is also written in very simple words. My next example is an example of a symbol. Now, a symbol doesn't just give information, but it often means something else. So this one is an example of a symbol that stands for peace. And those are one of the issues that were important to Abdoulaye Konaté as well when he made his work. I'm going to show you another example of a symbol, one which you may know. It's well known across the world, and it's very important in this day and age that we recognize that symbol as one that is telling us to recycle the objects and the things that we use today, that we don't just throw things away in a dustbin, that we use that material again and again. So that is the symbol for recycling. Now, the title of Abdoulaye Konaté's work is Ideograms, Signs, Symbols and Logos. That's the title. And you're probably wondering what the word ideogram means. Now, today's examples of ideograms is really around us all of the time. Particularly, we use them to communicate via our cell phones with these little pictures, which we know as emojis. Okay, and an emoji is really an example of an ideogram. An ideogram is a picture. It could be a letter of some kind. It could be a symbol that is giving us or that means something else. So if we look at the symbol here of the smiley face, this is telling us that it's communicating an idea about being happy or pleased about something. And that's what an ideogram is. Okay, it's a symbol or a picture that stands for an idea or stands for something. Now, what signs and symbols are we going to use in our artwork? I've been inspired by these beautiful symbols, and these are examples of what we call Nguni symbol language. Now, the Nguni people were some of the earliest communities in Southern Africa, and those communities broke up and to form various other groups that speak different languages. And today we have Xhosa-speaking people, the Zulu community, the Ndebele, and all of them have their roots in what was originally the Nguni peoples of Southern Africa. And they devised a symbol language, little pictures and signs that communicated particular ideas. And so I've used these a lot in some of my other lessons that I've done, and so that's why they are a little bit marked there. But there's symbols here that mean birth, there's symbols that mean future. You would recognize that from the artwork that I showed you before. Some of them are positive, and of course, symbols can also be negative. That's the symbol for war or hostility. We are going to use an example to complete our piece. I've chose one that means youth. I thought it was rather nice. They're a little bit indistinct there, but I've taken it and I've redrawn it. It comes from the left-hand side of my page. So this is an Nguni symbol meaning youth. And we're going to use that symbol to complete our beautiful artwork inspired by Abdoulaye Konaté. Right guys, now that we've learned a little bit about what signs and symbols are, we're going to use our third page that we folded, the one that we didn't cut out, and we're just going to make the center space for adding our symbols or our signs. I'm taking my Koki pen and I'm just drawing a line on the third fold from the left, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to count from the right hand side, 1, 2, 3. So I've got a little column down the center, and that's going to be the space where I add my symbols. If you like, what I've done sometimes is I've taken my piece of paper and I've just folded it in half to give me the center point, and that helps me just to balance and to place my symbols nicely in that space. Now, what I've done, remember I said we were going to use that beautiful symbol, Nguni symbol, which means youth, and I've taken that symbol and I've created my own pattern down the center of this page where I've demarcated my area. And what we're going to do is we're just going to finish that off by adding that symbol right at the end. And so I'm taking my Koki pen and I'm drawing my final youth symbol to fill in that space. And it really doesn't matter if your lines are a little bit skew. I like to work freehand. You don't really have to use rulers for this. And I'm redrawing my symbol. A little bit of blue paint in my blue area, and those are my beautiful symbols down the middle. And by this time your fringes should have dried, and so we're now going to put our beautiful fringes along the side. We're going to start with our lightest tone or our lightest color. You can start with any color. A little bit of glue along the top, and we're going to stick those in. Just be careful of your area that may still be a little bit wet. We're going to position it nicely in that bottom area like that, right against your tip. I'm going to turn that around, glue the top, again right in the corner. I'm going to take our second strip, glue that again. Position that nicely. hold steady with your hands. You can do the red first or the orange first. It's entirely up to you. Right, now guys, remember I said that we had this strip of paper that we cut off from our original 2 pieces of paper. And what I've done with my piece is I've taken it and I wanted to create some extra fringes right at the top. I've folded them again in half and in half again, cut them through and created some individual smaller fringes. And I wanted an even darker red on the top, and my paint wasn't really dark enough. So I'm just using a bit of crayon because I like that bright saturated color. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to paste them right at the top. And I've prepared a few here ahead of time. And I'm just going to take them and stick them right at the top to finish that piece off. Really beautifully. And again, from your leftover pieces, you can cut them into even smaller pieces. I've made some extra youth symbols because you might want to paste them in different parts of your artwork and on the edges of some of the fringes. Got 2 there. Got another one there. And from my final piece, I'm creating my final little symbol to put on the other side. A little bit of blue. I'm just using cookies for this part, guys, because it's rather small. Difficult to get in between with your cookies. A little bit of my orange cookie all the way around. My little orange cookie is drying out, and even dry cookies we don't waste because it sometimes still does some interesting things, and pasting it on the other side. So there we have our beautiful piece inspired by Abdoulaye Konaté, using our Nguni symbol meaning youth and using beautiful tones of red. I hope you've really enjoyed creating your artwork today inspired by Abdoulaye Konaté. Here's our finished example again so that you can have a look that we created. Please put an image of the one that you create onto our Instagram or our Facebook page. Let's see how you do, and let us know if you are enjoying these sessions. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.